Hey, it's James, Father's Rights and Resources, hashtag how I got custody. I was just thinking how I kind of wish, I was looking at some people's complaints, some of them legit, some of them illegit, or a little bit over the top. And I was just thinking, I wish people would complain every time there's something worthy of complaining about. You know, if your fries are cold at McDonald's or Burger King or Dick's Burgers here in Seattle, if your steak is rare and not medium well, like you asked, you immediately complain. If your hair isn't cut right, I mean, the average person, some people won't raise a stink, some people get enraged, but most people will complain when they get bad customer service or bad information or bad whatever. See if that makes that glare go away a little bit. There's so many things to complain about. You know, sometimes I get frustrated because I want to do videos on all these corrupt judges, guardian items, and put them out there. You know, I had a website in the early 2010s, like 2012, 13, with Vistaprint that makes business cards. And it was having all kinds of problems. I complained to them, and then I said, I want some money back because you guys upgraded. You didn't tell me about the option of upgrading. So I want some money back for paying for something when I had an outdated platform. And so they deleted my page and then gave me some money back. Whole bunch of hard work that just disappeared. And I had a bunch of profiles, a bunch of lawyers and attorneys. But I need to get back to targeting specific ones. And I think about my guardian ad litem. She's sitting here being rich, working at a big law firm. My guardian ad litem tried to get me to sign an agreement that I need to take domestic violence class. And that the mother, if I didn't go to all the classes or didn't complete the treatment properly, the mother can motion the court to change custody without a showing of substantial change of circumstances, which is required by the law. So she tried to set me up to be skirted around law. And then later on, I had a client who was the victim of domestic violence. He's a skinny dude. His baby's mom was big old fat brute. And he had the same guardian ad litem, and he signed off on that just to appease her and stuff. And so he had a domestic violence finding on him forever. He eventually got custody of his kid after working with me. And, but that guardian ad litem tried to set him up. And then another case I found out about her. I have to get this guy's name because I have to do a video on her. This lady did this lady had a case where the father is a psychologist and a professor at a school where I took some classes. This is how I found out. He's a Harley Davidson riding, long bearded psychologist, so not your traditional psychologist, who taught a domestic violence class that I had to take as part of my curriculum for law and justice at Central Washington University. And he's a psychologist, and he's also a guardian ad litem himself on the other side, halfway across Washington State. I'm in the greater Seattle area, so this is guardian ad litem. This guy's halfway across the state. This guy, I started talking to him again because he found my site. He goes, you were that student that wrote that one paper and stuff, and I remember you. And then we started talking about the guardian ad litem because he was looking her up and saw me post about her. And he said, that lady ruined my life with my kid. I said, why didn't you use your expertise? And he seems like a good guy. I'm like, why didn't you use your expertise to pick apart the guardian ad litem? You're a psychologist. She's a lawyer. And she probably said some stuff where she testified like a psychologist and you could have ripped her apart. He goes, my lawyer didn't do this, and my lawyer didn't do that, and my lawyer this. The guy's passed away now. I think he was like 15 or 20 years older than me. But this guardian ad litem is so psychotic and destructive that she even destroyed the life of a father who's a psychologist, who teaches a domestic violence class. He was kind of believing the hype about domestic violence against women. And he's a guardian ad litem himself. Some guardian ad litems up here are social workers, some are psychologists, some are lawyers. You just have to take like a couple days of a class to get in their registry or something, and you could become one. So I need to do a video on that lady. But you guys, you go to the courthouse and the clerk tells you you can't file that. The rules or law don't allow that, or well, you need to go down to the court and do these forms or whatever. And sometimes the clerks will give you a wrong route. That's why I tell everybody, always ask, where do you get that from? If you're telling me a rule or law that says I can't do that, show it to me. Or family court facilitators or self-help folks. All those people are not attorneys, and they're giving you information and advice and giving you bad advice, and they continue to do it and get away with it because nobody ever complains about them. I've complained about them, but because I've protested the court, they think I'm just a radical zealot who's just making stuff up. And so I complain about family law facilitators practicing law, and it falls on deaf ears. If I'm dealing with a family law facilitator or clerk who practices law, I'm going up there and I'm saying, hey, who's the lead of here? In King County, and where Seattle is, you could go online and look at the directory and see the different leaders of the sections: the family law case management manager, family law orientation supervisor. There's different things with family law, and then it all kinds of pyramids up to somebody who's in charge of it. And then there's the head clerk of the court. When you go to a court's website, it says clerk of the court, that greets you with a picture and a smile and saying, I'm the clerk of the court. They run the administrative side of it. Making schedules of people at the counter, and they make schedules of clerks and judicial assistants that are in the courtroom. They oversee all that. And those people, stuff should be reported to them. And you should be reporting to the Bar Association when somebody's giving you legal advice, especially if they give you bad legal advice. In Seattle, King County, they had to clean house and get rid of a whole bunch of clerks because the news media did a report on how they were giving advice and giving bad advice to people. And it was right around the time I got bad advice. I was told to go to the prosecutor. When I was trying to when I was totally lost, I went to the counter at the clerk's office. And I said, I need to get a parenting plan. They said, oh, you need to go to the prosecutor up the street. So I went to the prosecutor. All they did was take my information to start a parentage case to get child support. So I got some bad legal advice from the clerk. I didn't know what I was doing then. I was just looking and hunting high and low for answers. But I should have got that lady's name or looked out for it. Because they had this cleaning house and firing everybody, that just goes to show when it gets exposed to the right people, the courthouse has to get people in trouble. And so they'll start saying, stop giving legal advice, stop doing this and that. I've seen facilitators do this. I know one case where a guy lost by default. And Washington State has case law that says for 100 years we have vacated defaults or set them aside because we want people to win on the merits. We don't want people to lose by forfeit or by default. So we'll liberally set aside a default order. And, people get in trouble. People get a default because they didn't respond to paperwork. Maybe they served them at an address that's old and they found out later or whatever. Or they didn't know what to do. So this guy was going to the facilitator's office to get paperwork or get a consult. Now, the facilitators can hand you the paperwork, but technically that's legal advice too. And so what this one facilitator said, oh, you can't do that. You need to do a petition to modify. So he had an option to petition to modify, but he wanted to attack the original order because he lost by default, and he could wipe it out and start from scratch. If he does a modification, he starts from his 4 hours of supervised visitation and has to attack that while that's in place. He wants to wipe that out. They gave him legal advice and gave him bad legal advice and just telling him this is the road you have to go down. People should tattle, snitch, complain about all that kind of stuff and get these people in trouble every chance you get.